Well, this is going to be controversial because everyone has their favorite Batman. But I was at work and I made a list. So we're going to go down this list and list every single live action Batman that I have seen from worst to best. Now, once we get into the top three, it's going to be a little bit murky because these three individuals are essentially interchangeable for me. But we're going to start with the worst. And the worst Batman that I have ever seen on screen goes to Val Kilmer. Oh, what move? Was that Batman and Robin? Yo, Batman and Robin was so bad. Like, so bad. Everything about that movie was bad, I feel like, except for Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey as the Riddler was the only enjoyable thing from that movie that I remember. Val Kilmer didn't give a shit about his Bruce Wayne, didn't really care about his Batman in general. He was just boring. And it's something to say that Chris O'Donnell, who was brought on as his Robin, was way more entertaining and leads into our very next Batman, who is also at the bottom of the heap, who is number 8, and that is George Clooney. Talk about a miscast. George Clooney is the one person on the list of Batmen who doesn't even look like a Bruce Wayne type. I understand that George Clooney was hot shit back in the day, but randomly casting him as Batman always felt so weird to me. And then the Joel Schumacher Batman movies were weird in and of itself because they added nipples to the Batsuit, and that's like, for what reason? Why are there nipples on the Batsuit? Why? But then George Clooney's Batman, the only reason he's higher than Val Kilmer is honestly because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger was so fucking good as Mr. Freeze. He was having so much fun as Mr. Freeze that I was having fun in the movie. The puns that they were throwing back and forth, fun as shit. Arnold Schwarzenegger dropping out of the sky and just going, "What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!" and freezing an entire fucking Stegosaurus for no apparent reason. Dope as shit. Freeze well, Batman. His puns made that movie better. And as a result, it saved George Clooney. Why'd I just go dark all of a sudden? Whatever. We're going to figure this out one of these days. It made George Clooney that much better in the movie, even though he's at the bottom with Val Kilmer. Number 8, I've completely lost track. Adam West. Adam West's Batman was super camp, but when I was a kid, like 5, 6, 7, that was the most fun shit I'd ever seen on screen. Watching all of the classic Adam West Batman episodes, along with his classic villains, so good. I could watch that because Adam West's Batman was going for essentially slapstick comedy. That was great. That was acceptable. Joel Schumacher wasn't going for slapstick comedy in his Batman movies, yet somehow he achieved higher cheesy slapstick comedy than Adam West. But rest in peace, Adam West. You were dope as shit. You were dope as shit as Batman, and you were dope as shit as the mayor of Quahog. I haven't watched Family Guy in forever. My bad. Where were we? Were we at number 6? I've completely lost track of this list. This list is absolutely falling apart. David Mazouz. Mazouz? Maybe. For those of you who don't know, there was a show called Gotham. It aired on Fox. If it had aired on HBO, it would have probably been a whole lot better. But it aired on Fox, and it essentially had David as a young Bruce Wayne, who kind of ended up as the prototype Batman before he ended up as Batman. Watching his journey, super fun. Didn't really dig the Batsuit towards the end. I kind of feel as though the Batsuit kind of sucked, in a sense. It just wasn't really that good. Like, oh man, Batsuit really wasn't good. Like, it was essentially the Christian Bale trope where he gets into the tank and he's like, "At least I'm not wearing hockey pads." Like, the David Mazouz Batsuit was horrible, but his journey to essentially end up being Batman was dope as hell. And we have number 4. Like I said, this list has absolutely fallen apart. I have no idea what's going on anymore. We're going to say number 5 and we're just going to roll with it. And that is Ben Affleck, because I'm still reading off the list. Ben Affleck is definitely the most physically impressive out of all the Batmen. He was literally taken from the Arkham Asylum games and just shoved into our universe. Like, here you go. And it's super hilarious that a lot of people who are giving shit to Robert Pattinson seem to have forgotten that they gave a lot of shit to Ben Affleck, and he completely crushed it as both Bruce Wayne and Batman. His Batman was butchered by Joss Whedon, but it was redeemed in the Snyder Cut. Thank you, God. And it's really a shame that we are never going to see a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie. We deserve a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie. The world deserves one. We deserve a Dark Knight Returns movie featuring Ben Affleck's Batman, since that is essentially what inspired Ben Affleck's Batman in the first place. And we are at number 4 of our list that I put on my phone, and that is Michael Keaton. Why is Michael Keaton number 3? Why is he higher than Ben Affleck? Because he's my Batman. He's the first Batman I saw when I was a kid that made me fall in love with the character and thought, this is dope as shit. We need more movies like this. Of course, I had seen Christopher Reeve's Superman before I had seen Batman, but I didn't vibe with Christopher Reeve's Superman the way in which I vibed with Michael Keaton's Batman. Michael Keaton was perfect as Batman. He was perfect as Bruce Wayne. And it was dope seeing him interact with all of his villains. All of his villains are memorable. Jack Nicholson as Joker, Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Man, let me tell you something. When you were a boy and Michelle Pfeiffer is like on that bed across from the Penguin doing that whole flirtation thing, like that's one of those situations where it's just like, I don't know what this is. I'm too young. I don't know what this is, but I like this. And this should continue. Which is one of the reasons why, as a kid, when I thought she died, I damn near fucking cried until she had that cameo on top of the rooftop. And I was like, yes! I was like, oh, my love, she's alive. She's going to be in the sequel. Nope, never came back. Because Joel Schumacher had no idea what he was doing with both of his movies. And we are at number 3. And number 3 is Christian Bale. Oh, I know. Oh, I know you mad because you're sitting around like Robert Pattinson should be number 2 and Christian Bale should be number 1. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Christian Bale was a fantastic Bruce Wayne. He was an okay Batman. The reason why I say that is Ben Affleck, the only reason why he's number 4, he'd probably be above Christian Bale. Christian Bale would probably be in the 4 slot if he didn't get so many movies, and if The Dark Knight probably wasn't one of the 3 greatest Batman films ever. And if you're wondering what they are, the 3 greatest Batman films are literally The Batman, The Dark Knight, and Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is a cartoon. You should definitely go and watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm because it is absolutely dope as fuck. The only reason why he's up there is because he was in The Dark Knight. The question now needs to be asked. Is he up here because of The Dark Knight, because of him, or because of Heath Ledger's Joker? Does he stand well on his own without the Joker? Does he? Does he? I think he does. I think his trilogy was good. It ended a little bit weak in my opinion, and that wasn't the fault of Christian Bale. The original plan that they had for him was that the Joker was essentially going to be the last major threat, but of course, Heath Ledger had passed away, sadly. But Christian Bale is definitely number 2 on my list. Number 1 is our current Batman. Ooh, no, sorry. He's number 3. Forgive me. I've lost track of the numbers, but I do believe that this is number 2. I think this is number 2, so we're just gonna go with number 2. Number 2 on the list is Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is number 2. He's above, in my opinion, Christian Bale. Fantastic depiction of Batman. For the first time ever, we're seeing a Batman who designs everything in his Batcave. From the cape and the cowl to all of the gadgets, handmade, crafted by him. He is a master detective. He walks into a crime scene, he looks around at the evidence, he follows the clues. This is literally a live-action version of the Batman from the original Batman the Animated Series, plucked from there during his year 2 crime fighting, cape crusading, and dropped into a live-action movie, and I fucking love it, and I cannot wait to see what direction his character goes in the future. And if this is number one, or if Robert Pattinson was number one, this list has essentially fallen apart. It's really late, and if you haven't been paying attention, I drank like half a bottle of wine, so we may be a little bit tipsy when we're doing this list. Number one is, of course, Kevin Conroy. And Kevin Conroy is number one, and he had a small live action role during Crisis on Infinite Earths for the CW. And the only reason why he's number one is because essentially he's been my Batman for like 30 years or 20 years. From Batman the Animated Series all the way to the Batman game, Batman Arkham Knight. All the movies in between, all the animated media in between. Kevin Conroy has been the voice of Batman forever. And I absolutely love it. And I absolutely love him. But in all seriousness, even though I put Kevin Conroy at number one is more or less an honorary spot. The person who, in my opinion, is currently the best version of Batman is definitely Robert Pattinson. But like I said, it's definitely going to piss a bunch of people off. I definitely feel as though you're not seeing the forest or the mountains behind the forest, which is essentially Robert Pattinson's Batman is the quintessential version of Batman from the animated series. He's the detective, he's the brawler, he's the investigator. Like, this version of Batman is the Batman that Ra's al Ghul calls detective, because that is what he is. And I absolutely love it. Now, the complaint can be, well, he's not a good Bruce Wayne. Well, that's because he hasn't acclimated with the Bruce Wayne side of his persona yet. We see the acclimation starting to happen at the end of the Batman. So I would assume that once we get into, if they give him a second movie, which they're definitely going to, it's on track to make like $250 million. Bruce Wayne is definitely going to be more a little bit of a forefront. And they've also set up a few interesting story beats that I really hope they chase down, especially if they're deciding to go with the Court of Owls as a major villain for Batman in his next movie. Because to be quite honest, I feel as though you can get away with not having the Joker be the main villain for Batman while he's dealing with all of these other threats, and just have the Joker be this threat and force in the background that's just messing things up without the Batman knowing. But yeah, that's my list. Kevin Conroy takes number one with an honorary mention, even though he is only a voice actor. Robert Pattinson is actually number one as the best live action Batman we have ever received.